Go live. And we're live. Don't know how the audio sounds at all. Hello. I can't hear it in my head. Can you hear it in your head?
No.
Pull it up on the YouTubes.
Nope. You gotta send me a link.
Just Google the Not a Podcast. I don't know how to send a link.
Record, we came up with the idea of not having a podcast, which is not an original idea. A lot of people don't have a podcast. So
wait, a lot of people have the idea to not have a podcast?
Right. No, they don't have the idea to not have a podcast. Most of them just don't have a podcast without having an idea of not having a podcast. So that's what they do.
Boom. Okay. There, I sent you a link. Let's see if it works.
Whoopah! The link worked.
The link worked? Say something. I'm giving up on you. Poop. Mr. Poop in your loop over here.
Here we go. It's really dark.
I know it's really dark. That's really dark. I wonder if there's a way for me to change that at all.
Oh, the audio is great.
Audio's great?
Audio's great.
Audio's great. You want to...
Well, that's weird. The delay on your camera is the same as the delay on my laptop. So there is almost no delay.
All right, you want to turn on that light? Then
the delay that's there.
Or do you want me to... I can actually wait. Here, wait. Before you even do that, I can do...
Let me post this link to Facebook right now so we can get some watchers.
Oh, no, that's as bright as my screen goes. Never mind.
Nobody's going to watch.
Turn on that light.
2:30 in the morning.
Why not? Oh, man. Okay, the original idea for this podcast was 3 a.m. podcast because we came up with the idea.
No, this was an idea not.
This was an idea to not have a podcast, but we had an idea. He bumped into the camera.
This is a camera?
Yeah.
I totally thought you were still using the laptop.
No, tilt it a little bit that way. Yeah, good. Now turn on that light by reaching. I know you're short, but you can do it. Yep, come on. You can do it. You can do it. No, come on.
Got it. What happened?
It's so bright now.
It can't be that bright. It's not that bright.
All right.
It looks like daytime though. Looks
blur. Whoop.
This is gonna mess me up if I do this.
I think you're the one viewer that we got.
Yeah, it's just me.
Okay. So have you ever heard of this thing called the Tower of Babel?
That's the thing. I can't listen to us talk while we have a conversation. The Tower of Babel. That's a translation stone.
Well, the Tower of Babel.
That's like not Rosetta.
The Tower of Babel is like
that, right?
Well, it's really an interesting thing. It's like apparently in the original story, people banded together, and were trying to build this enormous structure to try to reach heaven. And it was hundreds of people that were working together to try to do this. There's probably more than hundreds. It was like, they were building this immense tower. God saw that they were all working together and building this tower to reach heaven. So what he did was he's like, you're all working together really well and you're building tower to try to come to heaven. I don't want you here. So I'm going to scatter you across the world and now have you speak all different languages.
He should have just put like an invisible ceiling.
He could have just did that. It was like we were all working so well, and then languages. So that is absolutely nothing to do with what I want to show you. Okay. Have you ever heard of the Library of Babel?
The Library of Babel.
The Library of Babel.
So they read on their way up to heaven?
No, I want you to Google
Library of Babel.
Library of Babel.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay. Now, this has been around for a few years. It's a collection. Just click on the link. Don't even do anything. Okay.
All right.
Just go to browse. Okay. So anybody who actually does end up watching this podcast, I definitely recommend you check this thing out. I told them earlier. No, don't even read. Right. Don't even read it. So I am going to send you something through Facebook Messenger, and I want you to copy and paste it into your into that hex bar. That's what I want you to do. Okay, you got it from Messenger? You got to go to Messenger.
Okay.
All right, you got to do it. Like, you're going to
that
copy
shit?
and paste that. I'm not, okay. So copy and paste it.
The whole message.
Whole message. That's what you got to do.
All right, hold on.
Come on, you got this.
Copy the whole thing.
Whole thing. I shouldn't have to repeat this 5 times.
All right, copy it and paste it.
Paste it right into the. Now click enter. Okay, now.
That's really cool looking.
Yeah, it is really cool
That's
looking,
an
right?
image.
Yeah, it's an image. Now go to wall 4. So move the mouse around. Go to wall 4.
I have no idea.
Did it say wall 4?
Those are books.
Did it say wall 4?
Yeah.
Okay. Now go to shelf 3. The third shelf down. You can click on the third shelf. Now go to volume 16. All of these have been around for years, okay? This website has not been updated. It was created once. Now go to page 335.
Oh, I know what this is.
What?
You got this from a Vsauce Dong, right?
Check page 335.
335. You're about to tell me something you already wrote.
I didn't write any of this.
Well,
this has been around for years. This never changes.
No, I know. But
no matter what.
You typed this in
to
find where it was.
Yeah. Go about halfway through that article and just start looking and see what it says. What does it say? Or you can read. You don't have to say our entire.
Okay. Nicholas H. and Nicholas R. are the greatest and will always be the greatest friends in history. Iago Media Jiazu. Yeah, this is every combination of every character.
Every character. So if you went back, so that comes up exactly by itself, comes up 10 to the 29th times. That's how many times that comes up in this book, in this compendium.
This is a book's length. With
random characters, that phrase pops up 29 to the 3097th.
We can hit random page and see if we can find some weird shit.
We could. You can find
extremely unlikely.
29 to the 3097th is how many times that phrase pops up, just in random characters. And then with English words around it, it pops up like a good 93 million times.
So everything's already been said. Yeah.
Everything with 3,200 characters.
This is the most useless message we could send to aliens.
So that message that I sent you, that text thing, well, that was just the page. That was just not the page. That was the hex where you have to look. So it's broken up into sections, and then each section is broken into 4 walls. Each wall has 5 shelves, and then each shelf is broken into 32 volumes, and each volume is 405 pages, I think. Or what does it say? 410. And there are 10 to the 5,000 pages.
There's
10 to the
5,000 anything.
There's not 10 to the 5,000 anything other than pretty much that. There are 10 to the 80th atoms in the universe.
So why do they even have a random page button? Can you imagine if you hit random page? And
think about all the crazy sentences that we have said. Every single one of them is in here, but not every single sentence that we have said.
Mm-hmm.
We can type in my name said blank, 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 blank on, write the date, time, and location, and it will say that exact sentence somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's the significance?
It's just insane to quantify that.
Yeah, it's a lot of words.
It's a lot of words,
It's
and
a lot of words.
it's a lot more nonsense than words.
It's mostly-
Go to the homepage on it and just go to the browse, because look, it says choose from a list. So it goes 0 to 9, and then it goes A to Z, and then it goes
Doesn't that
0,
mean that
1,
this
0,
is
2, 0, 3.
susceptible to copyright?
Technically, somebody could copy.
You could copyright strike this for every single.
No, they could copyright strike everything in the future.
That's true.
They
But
could
have
stop
to- no, but
anybody
then
from.
They'd have to get the copyright. first.
Nobody's gonna go through an 10 to the 5,000 pages.
Right, so they can't get the copyright.
No,
To
that's
get
just
a
people are
copyright-
lazy.
to own a copyright.
If he has this and it doesn't change, so this
Well,
goes
you need proof.
here. Look at this. This goes from the list. It goes 0 to 9, then A to Z, then 1, then 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2 to 9, 0 A to Z, and then goes 1, 0, 1, then 0 through 9, then 1's A through Z, and it continues with everything to pass the thing that I sent you. That page long, that was 3,255 characters what I sent you.
Okay.
I went into Word doc and looked it up. That's just one page. That's just one list, and there are more. 32,000 characters just to give you the list that you had to go to. It's so insane, just the amount. Enter any combination up to 3,260 numbers / lowercase letters, and you can pick up to 32,060. There are 32,060. The 32,060 combination of letters and numbers will make up the last list. Now, how many possible combinations there are of 32? I keep saying 32,000. 3,260 characters is an insane amount.
Have you ever heard of Graham's number?
What is that? I forgot. I remember hearing about it.
It's an extraordinarily large number, and it is considered, I think, the largest number ever used in an actual mathematical proof. And it is essentially I think it's like a permutation or something for several different networks. I don't even know how to describe it.
I'll look at. I'll check out. I'll put
it's
in
a
Graham's.
ridiculous, and the way that they described how large it was on Numberphile, which is where I first learned about it, is they said that the amount of energy, in order to fathom the number, the amount of energy you would have to have in your head would be so much that it would collapse it into a black hole.
Well, there's
so
a
literally
few.
to think of the number, you would implode your brain.
I'm trying my best to. I don't want to just say things and not have I know numbers rough off the top of my head, but if I have them right in front of me, I don't really want to just say them if I know I can double check them just to make sure.
This is not a podcast. This is an ASMR.
Don't do that. What is the net? Where did I write it? I wrote it somewhere. There's a few things in here that are just I didn't even realize. I didn't know these things. What are you doing? Are you throwing food at me?
Nope.
Boop. That was definitely. You know what? Screw it. I'm gonna eat it.
You sure you? How's it taste?
I'm.
Does it taste? Does it taste like victory?
Yeah. Here's some weird facts that I've because of watching all the videos and books. You know how gravity's weird. Everything has its own gravitational field.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, regardless of what.
Higgs. Everything with the Higgs.
Yeah, everything with the Higgs. So even this saltine, even this pen. So, you know how if you let go of a pen, it drops to Earth?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this has its
Usually,
own gravity.
If you're on Earth.
Yeah, this has its own gravity. So it is pulling the Earth to it. So even if you drop this from 6 feet yes, this moves basically 6 feet down, but the Earth moves 9 trillionths the width of a proton towards the pen.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Which we consider up.
Yeah, it is up. This is it. Oh, because remember we were talking about a little while ago how I was just like thinking about how everything came into existence. How many times nuclear fusion had to have occurred
Right. Yeah.
in order to do all this. So what made this even more crazy to me, in my opinion, was when I was watching stuff and it was giving me some raw numbers on life. There are 5 sextillion atoms in a drop of water,
Okay.
and 100.
Are you trying to make yourself feel bigger, Nick?
No,
'Cause you're
I'm
already
like
taller than me.
a
So
100 quindecillion atoms
you had more dollars than that on a venture
on the Earth.
capitalist.
I thought those numbers were made up. But no, it goes tens, it goes single digits, tens, hundreds, thousands, millions, billions, trillions, quadrillion, quintillion, sextillion, septillion, octillion, nonillion, decillion, undecillion, duodecillion, tredecillion, quattrodecillion, and quindecillion. Quindecillion, 100 quindecillion is how many atoms make up the Earth.
I
Yeah.
feel like that's probably not accurate.
I feel like it probably is accurate.
I mean, they're probably off by at least a few.
I don't think they're off by a quindecillion. I think that's why they don't say 100 quindecillion, 985 quattrodecillion, 100 tredecillion. There's a lot of room in between.
No, because atoms are really small.
Yeah, there's a lot of room with quattro-duodecillion.
How many quattro-duodecillion atoms? How many spaceships make up that many? Just we have those go out and come back.
So that was one thing those were some things that I found. There's a lot more in this book that I've just been writing down over time. Just to all these different things. There was one thing.
What?
Oh, good thing you did that. Are you dying or something over
bit,
there?
Maybe my throat.
No, you're okay.
It's just a little bit of throat pain.
For the longest time, my understanding of time was milliseconds, seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, all that stuff. Yeah, but that was my understanding. Apparently,
time is a actual
time is an actual thing. But that's regardless. The way seconds are measured is ridiculous.
I thought seconds were just I don't know, actually.
This is the definition. The definition of a second. Oscillations of a ground state outer shell electron of a cesium-133 atom by the nucleus 9,192,631,770 times. 1 second is defined by that many oscillations of the outermost electron of a cesium-133 atom. That's the technical definition.
Why would they do that?
Why would you?
Because that's not what a second is.
That's what a second is.
No, it's not.
That's actually what a second is.
Second, maybe if you...
No, that's what a second
like on
is.
On a digital clock, right?
On a digital clock. 1 second is that.
How do they make digital clocks?
I don't know.
No, because in my head, right, you measure how long a day is.
And
that's 24 hours. And then a second is just like you divide that by 60.
So what is it?
And then you divide that by 60 and you have a second.
Yeah, you do all the, But apparently, I've actually, by doing all this stuff, now I actually also understand leap years. Because for the longest time, I was like,
it's just
why the hell do we have a leap year?
We actually don't go at the speed we go.
Well, no, that's not true. We do
Because-
go at the speed we go.
Well, obviously,
We go at the
I
speed
said
we
it
go.
Stupidly.
Uh,
No, we go like at the speed we go plus
One.
very small amount.
Well, it's plus actually a decent amount. So, when it comes to the sun, there's what's called a sidereal day.
Okay.
That's how long it takes the Earth to do one full rotation.
Okay.
But the Earth is rotating
You
around.
mean revolution.
No, one rotation. The Earth rotates.
Okay.
One rotation.
Because that's a year.
Yeah, I didn't say. That's why I didn't say.
I know what a year is, Nick. I'm smart.
Yeah, you are.
All
So,
right, go on.
A sidereal day. How long it takes it to revolve? You know, you got rotate. Rotate once,
buddy.
How long it takes to rotate once? But because this is turning as it's turning around the sun, when it does 180 degrees, in order for this point to be looking back at the sun, not 180, 360, it actually needs to go more in order to point back at the sun. So it's actually a day is not 360 degrees. It's like 400.
Is that because of the Earth being shaped like an egg?
No, it's because the Earth is rotating around something as it's rotating. It's not a perfect rotation.
I gotcha.
So it doesn't work. So it doesn't work out. So that's what's called a solar day.
Nick? All right, this is kind of unrelated.
No, here's where you know how we're like, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, it should be 24.000006 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365.2421891 days a year.
You mean? Oh, yeah, word.
Yep. So there's a rule because of this, and because we actually only go by 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. There's a rule that every 4 years, in order to make up for that loss of time, actually at the 4-year mark, we would have lost an entire day's 24 hours. Actually, we would have lost just under 24 hours.
How long ago did they figure that out?
A while ago. There's
Like
actually
a long time ago?
like they figured this out a while ago, but it had compounded so many times that if you actually go back and look at
like
calendars, there's entire weeks missing. So like legislators were like, yo, from September 4th to the 14th, gone this year. So if you actually look on the calendars, they're missing. That's in multiple calendars because they were trying to correct or everything that was going on.
in the past?
In the past, they've done it. It was a few years. It was years ago.
Like
Both way in the past and relatively in the past.
So this was like their plan. They were just gonna.
Well, now
to just get rid of weeks. At a
well
time.
now that's when they introduced a leap year.
Uh-huh.
So in order to correct for this, once every 4 years they add one extra day.
So like there's a random chance any given like every 10 years
Let
there's
me-
a chance you'd miss your birthday because if they just cut that part of the year out.
If they didn't do this thing. But here's where it gets weird. So because they add an extra day and we don't change how we measure days, it's not that we actually lost 24 hours. We actually lost just under a day. So
Okay.
by doing that, we actually
Compensate.
overcompensate
Yeah.
by a hair.
Okay.
But we only do it once every 4 years. But that compounds.
Until when? 100 years from now?
Yes. So the rule is every 100 years,
Was I right for guessing that?
every 100
That's
years,
awesome.
except on 400 years. So it's like every 4 years.
What do we slow down?
Every 4
400
years, except for like when it comes to 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, you skip at the 100-year mark, the 200-year mark, and the 300-year mark. But you don't skip anywhere else every the 4-year mark, and you skip those 3 days to compensate for the overcompensations
So we
for
have
the
100
undercomp.
years with no leap years.
No, you only skip on the 100th year.
Wait, what do you mean?
Once,
Once every 100 years, you skip a leap.
yeah, 100, 200, 300. But then on the 400 year, you don't skip. Then on the 500 year, you skip.
But what,
600
but
year, you
hold on
skip.
now. 100
The 4
isn't
years in
divisible
between.
evenly by 4.
don't work. That's just the rule. I don't make them up.
So like, all right. So year 2000. Let's say pretend it's a leap year. I don't know if it was or not.
But a leap year doesn't always fall on an even day.
2100. No leap year. No leap years for that for until when? From 4100, 2100.
If the leap year falls, like the leap year cannot fall on the year 100, 200, or 300.
Oh, okay.
It's like this. I don't understand it entirely. I'm going off of memory here,
Right.
but it's this weird compensation where they get rid of leap years in like 1 year every 100 years to compensate for their overcompensations by adding a leap day for their undervaluing
really insignificant.
But it makes now I understand why there's a leap year.
How about okay. Good for you, Nick. That's gonna be real helpful for you in the future.
I'm just gonna start telling you a bunch of stuff that I've learned, basically.
Okay.
You ever heard of a half a spherectomy?
Half a spherectomy?
Yup.
There's no organ called a half a sphere, so I don't know. Unless there is an
wait,
organ
did I-
called a half a sphere.
I might be.
Are you
I might
saying
be.
it right?
I thought I was saying it right.
Half a sphere.
Blah 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 blah. Half a spherectomy. Yeah, I'm right.
All right, what is it?
It's normally done on very small children, like really young, never really more than like 7 or 8 years old.
This is not a random facts podcast.
No, it's not. This is us. Not the movie. It's when they remove half your brain. It's normally done in small children where the part of the brain is the cause of seizures.
It's not funny.
So they take out half the kid's brain.
That's not funny.
But the
Do you
kids
know there's a disease that you can be born with where you have like the top part of your head is like half the size.
Oh god.
And,
Oh.
I'm sure there's like a high mortality rate for people. I forget what it's called. Dwarf head.
But it was like,
That's definitely not going to give me the Google results I
oh
want.
my god. It
Hold
was
on.
just like I can't believe when I heard that they remove half your brain. And then they pose the question.
Microcephaly. You ever heard of this? Microcephaly? It's really
No.
common.
I don't think it's really common.
Look. This is a normal. You can't see this.
So they look like cavemen.
That's mean.
It's not mean. It's accurate
You're right. I don't know. What does a caveman look like? Why would you say that?
because of the way their head structure is.
Have you ever met a caveman, Nick?
I've seen pictures.
I mean, when you're a baby, right, that looks kind of normal, but I think, look at this.
Oh my god. Holy. Nope.
That looks like a Disney character.
Nope.
Yeah, they usually
okay
have
with
like
this.
mental issues because that's
Here. I wanna ask you some stuff because I want us to actually like have a conversation. So I've been listening to the 12 Rules of Life.
Did he get into depth about Quora on there?
No, he didn't.
You said the first line was Quora.
Well, I was talking about Quora, and I'm like, oh, you were talking about Quora.
Yeah.
I'm on, I think I'm on 7 or 8. I'm on the 7th or 8th rule, but I want to go through the rules that have already been established in this book so far, and get your opinions on them and talk about them. The first rule is stand up straight with your shoulders back.
Okay.
And it's more than just the rule. It's the principles behind it. You know,
the metaphor
of
pride.
confidence, pride, asserting yourself, not being walked all over.
Where do you draw the line between pride and ego?
It
seems really great.
You don't talk when you are proud. You talk when you have an ego because you want people to know. You show people if you're proud. You don't tell them. There's a difference.
Okay.
I'm not saying as in
You're
show,
right.
as
That's a
in
good
holding the,
analogy.
as in holding hold my trophy here. Look
No,
at my
no,
trophy. It's
like-
you show them by your actions that you're a great person. You don't go around being like, "Yo, I'm awesome." No, you're a dick. Yeah.
Okay.
So
No, that's.
I think that's a good rule of life. You know, it's a good. A
Because,
lot of people, I feel, are.
pride.
I think it's a good one. I think
I-
people need to work on, you know, just being more
I think
assertive.
posture is good too
Posture. Yeah, go. Always have good posture.
because you mess up.
You don't want a bad lumbar.
You don't want poor muscle distribution.
Muscle atrophy. You know, you don't want any of that
You
kind
don't
of
wanna
stuff.
have
It's
all that.
you know, it's good for your health. Number 2, I think the second rule is actually a really good one, and I think it can apply to. I think you've basically adopted this for yourself
Okay.
in a way, and I think other people need
much
to.
or a
No,
lot?
in a good way. This is an interesting rule. It's treat yourself like you're someone you are responsible for caring for. So he uses the analogy of if your dog got sick.
Mm-hmm.
If a vet says give the dog antibiotics once a day, every day for the next 3 weeks, guess what? You're going to do it.
Yeah.
You're going to,
You're
because
not
the
gonna
dog
get
can't
lazy
do
one
it.
day and then
No.
not do it.
But if the doctor says take these antibiotics twice a day for the next 3 weeks, what's the likelihood you're going to skip a day or two?
Me?
Yeah.
Wouldn't.
You wouldn't. But it is very common for people.
I might take one instead of two. If I started, well, not antibiotics. If it was like a painkiller.
Yeah. So it's like,
do it.
so a lot of people, they don't treat themselves like they're responsible for themselves in a medical way, in a
Well, you saw
taking
my
care of.
progress tracking.
Yeah, so
firsthand.
that's
like
why I said
literally
you've
what I
basically
did.
adopted this. But when you were younger, you didn't have the same philosophy.
Well, when I was in high school, I didn't consider a lot of things that you would consider important. Like, I didn't consider that taking care of myself. Because
I'm not talking about school. I'm talking about like in
well,
like,
no, because
I'm talking about in any like
when
a
you
lot of
say
people have
when I was
medical things.
Younger, what do you mean then? Like,
Because one, we were much different people as far as our mental acuity and the way we're very different from most everyone else in the way we thought. We were much more in depth and elaborate and more concise and went into things a lot more. But we were still not at the level that we are now.
Mm-hmm.
And
constantly growing, Nick.
Yes, even though you stopped growing many years ago, it's
right.
But I feel like a lot of people, especially I feel this is parents. Parents can take care of their kids, but they don't take care of themselves.
Yeah.
They don't
get lazy with their kids too, though.
Yeah, but a lot of times they don't take care of themselves. They don't focus on their health enough.
And you know what? You can't. That's a good point bringing up parents, because you can't be good to other people if you're not good to yourself.
Yeah, so
that's my fundamental belief.
I feel like this needs to be adopted by people. A lot of people
feel like your responsibility to the world is to be the best person you can be. And in order to be the best person you can be, you have to treat yourself.
I feel like
in that way.
I feel like this is a
like
this
the better I am, right?
Yeah.
The better the world would be for having me in it.
I feel like
I have to make sure I'm good.
I feel like why this needs to be adopted is I feel that, at least with myself in the past, and sometimes even currently, and with many other people, that in the troubles of life, in what they are disappointed in life, in what hurts them, part of them says they deserve it.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing.
And they'll try to help others and say they shouldn't have to go through this, but they won't then do it for themselves. That is easily a very common thing. They will accept their pain and believe in their heads that they deserve that pain, but they don't think other people do. And I feel like they need to treat themselves as if they were someone else.
What do you think the
cure look at it from
that, though?
I don't know.
Because you can spot that in a person, usually, if you know them for a long enough time. It doesn't take too long to know that about somebody. And I've encountered people like that I have never been able to figure out, because you say, right, it's a self-esteem issue. So you could try to like boost their self-esteem,
No, it's not a
but
self-esteem
it's
issue.
not, like, in the sense that, like, you can. There's a difference between like beliefs about yourself and self-esteem. Uh, there's an ego about. I don't know if ego is the right word, right? But this is the word I'm going to use. Ego. You you're sometimes you feel like you have to listen to yourself. I feel like this is what it is, right? You have to listen to your initial thoughts. But with like there's a loyalty to your beliefs, and there's a loyalty to your thinking. So like if your thoughts are I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough all the time, even if somebody comes to you and says you shouldn't think that way,
So this is
you
like
won't take it seriously, because
this is basically when you and me analyze emotions, or like, why the hell are we feeling that way when in all logical
good job
aspects
interrupting our conversation.
it's a conversation. There is no
To
interrupting in a
to
conversation.
talk about what the conversation is about.
There is no interrupting in a conversation, because a
Yes,
conversation.
there is.
I hate people that say you're interrupting. I'm like, well, no, you're not
You're
giving
interrupting.
you're not allowing the other person to speak in the sentiment in order to have the discord.
All right. What did you want to say?
I said it.
Okay. I don't know where we were
You were saying stuff
before you didn't interrupt me.
I
on this
didn't.
not podcast.
I can't interrupt you on a not podcast. It's not a podcast. I don't even know. We don't even know what it
You
is.
can interrupt me on a not podcast.
I feel like the term interrupt is a weird one. In some cases, you do like in order to get.
If you watch
going.
The View, you'll know interrupting. Okay. All they do on that show
they don't
is
interrupt.
talk over every voice.
That's not interrupting. That's them just going.
If I stop, I've allowed to interrupt, right? If I keep going, is your interruption an interruption? No, because I'm still going. So it's
And so they don't
the key
interrupt.
to not interrupting someone is that they have to not stop talking. So
Well,
it's
it depends
their
on
responsibility to not be interrupted.
No,
That's true,
it's
right?
not on the conversation, because you were talking just as I said. No, that's not true. But I don't consider that an interruption. If you would, you got issues other than my 200 plus comic books.
You were adding to the conversation.
Yeah, it's not in any way just trying to detract from it or
This
to.
is so left field. What are we talking about?
We were talking about treating yourself, and you were mentioning how it's the ego. You're stuck in this mindset. And even though that part of you knows you shouldn't be thinking that, you're so used to thinking that way about yourself.
You trust yourself over others when it comes to not liking yourself, which is a weird kind of concept. But
yeah, somebody else can tell you you're great, but in the back of your head, you're like, no.
Because it's like a confidence in your lack of confidence.
But actually, it's not just that. It only really works that way with negative. If you say you're great and someone says you suck, and there's someone that you're friends with, you're going to take that. You're going to take that a lot more than if you think you suck and they say you're great.
Ego thing, because that's not necessarily the case. You might like
here, but the thing it's not vice versa.
People who are narcissists.
If in the scenario you think you're great, and a close friend says that you're not, like you stink, or like, and you're going to take that pretty harshly if you think depending on context, it's not a joke, like,
right.
But if you think badly of yourself and they say you're great, you still think badly of yourself. You don't take that too much. You can take it in a short term, but you don't think too much on that. You will think more on somebody putting you down than somebody raising you up.
Well, when the difference is, if you think well of yourself, like there's also a personality thing, right? So you could be an optimist or a pessimist.
Yeah.
Like everybody tries their best to see themselves for the way things are actually going, to see things for the way they actually are, but you can't do that perfectly.
Not even close.
So just like you have like you're right-handed or you're left-handed,
And your brain controls your right hand.
You either tend to assume more positives than negatives, like, oh, my day is going to go well.
Well, in today's society, it's more.
Or you assume more negatives than positives, which I agree. I think most people are.
Yeah, I feel like it's in the society that we are built into. I just said it's, and I'm like, what the? I don't know what I mean. But in today's society, we're in all aspects: men, women, black, white, Asian, Apache helicopter. We're also critical of one another and critical of themselves. Like,
Okay.
I had something. Oh, men are being bashed all the time for everything we do. We are under a microscope looking at every action that we take, every word we say by women, politicians, social media. Everything you
read
is yeah. Men are being analyzed by everyone. Women are being analyzed by everyone, especially other women. Like, that is sometimes one of the...
That's not new, though.
Yeah, that's not new. Everyone's being analyzed by everyone. Everyone's like... And everyone feels like their opinion of someone else... Matters. I'm like, no, it doesn't. Your opinion of me doesn't matter. Matters. You are not my wife. You are not my best friend. You are not my family.
Here's what matters, right? What matters is what you do. And your opinion should not influence that in any significant way.
Not at all.
But people let their opinions influence them, and sometimes they think it's like totally okay to do that.
Rule 3, and this one, going through it, made me want to work on being a better friend for you.
Ooh.
And
sounds like a deal.
Make friends with people
who want more money,
who want the best for you. Who want the best for you. So it went into an aspect, and that's a great rule. In fact, I think that God damn it, there's something stuck in my throat and I hate it.
I definitely want the best for you at all times.
Yeah, I always want the best for you. But when he was going into different, I think one, it's like get rid of people who are only there as just empty weight.
This is probably one of the pieces of advice I feel the least people recognize. Like,
but there was another level to this.
It's good to exercise, and somebody will receive that and be like, all right.
But there was another level to this that made me actually want to apply this to you. Like, I always want the best for you. He's like, wanting the best for you doesn't fit. I want you to succeed. Mm-hmm. It's like, when you succeed really well, I'm proud for you, but part of me feels like crap. Like, because I'm like, damn it. He's going so far.
This is you.
This is me. Okay. He's going so, and he was mentioning this way of thinking.
I see us as sort of also rivals.
We're rivals, and we're pushing each other, but at the same time we're like grudging. So it's like, when you succeed really well and I'm not, like, when you got a 4.0, I thought that was great for you, but I was not doing well. I was struggling. So seeing you flourish and hearing about it and all this stuff, I'm like, I'm just a failure. But I'm like, in the back of my head, I'm like, shut up, stop talking about your 4.0. And then they always like, no, be proud for him. He worked hard. He did this. He deserves this. He should feel proud of himself. Uh-huh. That's why I'd be like, I was being honest with you when it came. I'm like, right now, it bothers me how I'm doing.
You know, I think there's a confidence issue between us then, because.
Well, I told you. No,
you did, right? But it's almost like really letting it be out there.
I don't like talking. I don't tell people my problems. I keep my problems.
Sometimes it's okay. You can't assume that you're going to burden people.
Like, I've got a lot of issues.
Like, somebody can tell you something bad that's going on, and it won't
so many people. What is it?
For them, but that's it.
One of our friends was like, she's like, you go to the gym all the time, and I'm like, I don't like my body. I don't like it at all. It's all right. That's the most I will say about it. I definitely would love to do a lot of work, and I hate myself. Like, after I eat a huge meal, I don't hate myself to wanting to like die or puke or anything like that. But I'm like, why did I do that? I'm like, I'm trying to lose weight. What am I doing here? And I resent doing some actions, and then it creates a cycle, and I need to do something to offset that cycle. Mm-hmm. But I thought the aspect of, looking through a different lens, it's a weird dynamic with us because we're very competitive with one another.
Do you think this is an understanding issue then, or
No, I think this was just the lens in which I was looking. I think it just
that would
needs
be
to
an
be a
understanding thing, wouldn't
no, because I understood everything. It was just changing my way of
Reaction.
looking at it, because I think I could have just handled it slightly differently,
it?
or in other situations could have just modified it a bit, because it's fine for me to want to get better. It's fine for me to not feel that great for how I'm doing. Okay, I felt good for you, and I was proud of you, and I never try to pull you down. I make jokes at you, but they're never anything more than superficial.
Right.
They're never anything that I'm
Like-
trying to hurt you. It's always something that's just completely monotonous, non-important, or ridiculous, like me calling you a fork or a turnip or something. Because half of my insults to you are calling you random objects.
Yeah.
That is more than half of my insults to you. Is I'm like, you are such a butternut squash. Like, I'll do that very often.
You used to call me obesity boy.
I called you obesity. You are not. And like, obviously, none of these insults have any meaning behind them. They're nothing more than just banter and just playful insults. It's like none of this is anything unhealthy.
It's all dicking around.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
That's all it is. So I thought rule 3 was a good one. Rule 4 is I preach this to everyone who goes to the gym. I have literally said this to other people, and I love this one. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today.
Also progress track.
Love that. Compare yourself to yesterday, make subtle changes to help better yourself each day, even if it's something small, but don't go comparing yourself to someone else.
Unless
it's us, because we're the same. We're still the same. We're going to do it anyway. It's bound to happen.
On yourself.
Yeah.
There's going to be things about yourself you don't know, and you
and then everyone's lens of you is also going to be completely skewed.
You have to rely on other people to fill in for those blind spots. But that doesn't mean.
I was talking to my friend. I was talking to one of my friends at school, and I was talking to him. He's not a very talkative guy, but when we do talk, like sometimes it can get into a discord like this. I like the word discord. And I said, like, when I'm now with the group of friends that I'm with at school, the best way of describing it is I feel like a 3-dimensional being in a 2-dimensional world. Obviously, we're in a
My senior quote was, "I am diagonally parked in a parallel universe."
So, because in my mind, like, that was the best apt description, because and it applies to actually rule 7. I'm going to just skip and read rule 7. Okay. Pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient.
What does expedient mean?
Quick. Fast. It's it's basically saying don't go for the immediate pleasures. Sacrifice, work hard for the long goal. That's what it's saying.
Pass the marshmallow test. Yeah. Basically.
So I thought that was the best way. I thought that was a really good one, because me and him were talking. I'm like, everyone in college is in that expedient zone. They are doing stupid stuff all the time.
Not everyone in college is doing it. Most people in college probably aren't.
A lot of people drink. A lot of people smoke weed and do other drugs. A lot of people go out to parties. It's like,
I can't stand when people call it experimenting. No. When they're like a year into it.
Shut up. I don't like it's ridiculous. So
like, you're not experimenting with drugs anymore. Okay?
So I use that description because
you're doing drugs now.
Yeah.
It was experimenting when you did it once, maybe the second time. You kind of know how this goes now, right? You can't call it that.
So I use that because I'm going into all this stuff. I'm listening to audiobooks. I'm watching videos, trying to learn in all different facets: psychology, sociology, science, math, politics,
think of anything
history.
You could get that would give you an advantage in life.
Everything I've been doing.
Anything you could do.
Right? Not what they're doing. Which is just playing around with people that they are literally not going to see after this semester. because most of them are
if
leaving.
you had to pick one, knowledge or learning knowledge is the one of the only things that has, to the extent that it does, an irreversible aspect to it. Because once you really learn something, you're not gonna unlearn it.
Yeah.
Very few times will you forget something that's really hardwired in. So, like, and you could take that 30. I mean, I'm talking like, obviously you could get into an accident and then all of a sudden you have some sort of amnesias and stuff.
So Rule 7 went into some crazy stuff like that. Like that was the one where it's like, go after, sacrifice, work hard, do stuff for the long goal.
And you could take that a step further, because I just read that book, Ego is the Enemy. And in that book, there was a chapter that I was not expecting, which was like literally taking a rock and smashing passion into pieces. And saying
This
passion
all
is
of a
something
sudden
you don't want.
he starts bringing up the Bible more and more. The whole chapter 7 was a lot about a few of the chapters have mentioned the Bible quite a lot, like quoting it and analyzing it. It's not really in the zone, in my belief, where he's coming from, in a zone of I'm religious, God is almighty. It's a zone of, this is a great piece of literature and you can learn a lot from it, and there are a lot of deeper meanings.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
so
he's analyzing a lot of the stories, and we'll probably go into that either depending on how long this is going to go, however long you want to go for this, or however long it naturally goes out, or in another one. Rule 5, do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. When doing this, he implies
a terrible suggestion.
When he implies this is applying to children between the ages of 0 and like 6. So this is where they don't yet have a personality. They're still in the sense of they're developing themselves. You need to teach them social norms and different things.
Yeah.
And it's because a lot of parents, especially in today, they're afraid to do anything. A 2-year-old will be smacking around and they'll be like, it's a 2-year-old, whatever. No, you'd be like, no, you teach them, don't hit people. That way, when they're in school, they don't hit people.
I used to bite people back in kindergarten. I got in trouble at least once because I had been a junk when it comes to old stuff. I found a notebook that was like a journal or something from when I was in kindergarten that I don't know if I wrote in it, but my teacher wrote in it a message to my mom.
Nick bit another student today.
That's exactly what it said. I was like, what? What does that mean? What does that say about me now? That was great.
I don't know. Biting's
yeah. She never taught me.
So
I would just
with young children, it's a matter of teaching them right from wrong. And parents have a responsibility. There is a level of letting your child express themselves, letting them be their own person. If a teenager wants to listen to rock music and play those gosh darn video games, well, let them. If you dislike it, you're not them. It's not harming anyone. Now, if you're a teenager, you don't teach them, don't smack people around or don't bite people, and then they're 16 in college and they go around biting kids and be like, nope, don't. Oh my God, I failed. All right. It's more, the rule itself doesn't make sense in the context because it seems like a very judgmental place.
Right, for example, right. Our parents,
they're very accepting.
They used to tell us not to do a podcast. And here we are.
Not doing a podcast. Exactly. My mom's been trying to talk me out of getting a tattoo so much.
Why is that?
It was really funny. Where's my phone?
Your sisters have tattoos.
Yeah, my sister has a tattoo. So I texted my mom the other day. I told her about me scheduling the tattoo a while ago. I told her what day I scheduled it.
Okay.
I was like, I called the guy. I asked him when he's free. He told me this. I told her what day it was scheduled for. I told her what I was getting and what I was planning on doing and everything. So on Monday, I texted her. I'm like, don't forget Lion on the 26th. And then I put under it, Lion, March 26th, 12 o'clock, the tattoo parlor, and who's doing it. She responds, I guess we'll talk when we get home. I didn't know it was scheduled, or I didn't remember you told me, and you need to talk to Dad about it. I actually thought you had moved on and were not as obsessed with it. And I'm like, I haven't been obsessed with it. I talked to the guy. I scheduled it. I told you when it was, and then I went back to studying. I'm like, you thought I forgot? You thought I moved on and wasn't obsessed? And I'm like, what? I'm like, no, I'm doing this. I already have all the money.
I feel like this is like a mom
This is a
tendency
mom.
to like fantasize about what your kids are doing, and then forget that those were just your thoughts.
And my mom was also just like, what if you're allergic to the ink? And I'm like, no.
That's not gonna happen.
Like,
I'm sure it could.
It could. You know, there's
You're not allergic to anything, though, right?
0.5% of the population is allergic to red or yellow ink, and mine's black. I think it's like 0.1% of the population. Yeah. So it was just funny, and I'm gonna have to talk to my dad probably today about it. So that's gonna be fun.
I don't think you're gonna regret the tattoo.
No, I'm not. It's okay. I'm gonna get your face right here.
You will regret doing that.
I'll get a jar of sprinkles.
What happens when you?
I'll get a jar of sprinkles. Just a small little jar of sprinkles.
When your forearm gets so ripped?
So apparently it hurts more if you have more muscle. And less fat. And less fat. The least fat.
Sucks for you.
Yeah.
Stop your diet, Nick.
Get
just
fat.
For now. Just for this week.
Just for this week.
Eat lots of Twinkies.
Rule 6. Set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. Love it. Love that one. Self-explanatory. If you don't get it,
I can't.
Michael Jackson.
I don't understand people talking about the world. I used
you
to
have
do that
not.
shit.
You have no place to do that. I hate when people compare. When people's You're first thing
about like our country to other countries.
I hate that so much. I'm like, I was talking to my friend Ben, and I'm like, he brought up China, and I'm like, don't. It's like, what? I'm like, don't bring up China, England, Australia, France, Germany, Portugal, any country. They are not us. They have a different economic system. They might be similar, but it functions differently. They have a different form of currency. They have a different way of communicating with each other. They have a different standard of dialect between one another. They have a different government in place and laws in place, and a different society and different social rules and social norms. And it's a different country. Us and Japan are apples and oranges. Actually, it's apples and avocados.
That's true.
That's better because
that's true in a lot of situations.
Like if you were to compare, there are of course good. You can make some, but when you make
rats to get an idea of what a drug will do in humans.
Yeah, but
so
it's like
you can test policies in one country to get an idea of what it'll do if you do it anywhere else.
You can get a rough understanding, but you can't get a full. You can try to prepare yourself for.
But when it comes to opinions, right?
Yeah, opinions.
And people, like nationalism makes no sense to me. I think globalism is the way to go.
I think globalism is the way to go, but America's the best. We're the greatest.
Okay.
No. We're pretty damn great. Our economic system is, we have our flaws.
I don't see the need to even proclaim that. Why do we care how America is doing?
I don't
specifically.
The thing
other than for our own needs.
The thing about it is our government system, though flawed, is ingeniously designed.
Yeah.
Like it is, like it has its flaws, but in actuality,
well, it's the best thing to come along.
It is ingeniously designed.
The checks and balances are fantastic.
Yeah, like it's, of course.
Granted, it was put together right in a world where the capabilities we have now
were nothing in comparison.
Like here's the biggest flaw in our government now. it is so bureaucratic that things are slower than they should be.
Things are way too slow, especially in
we're
a
talking about a time where you needed to get on a horse to
Pony Express.
travel to, like
Pony Express.
Like it was so, even though the world was smaller because
Yep.
we didn't colonize everything, you know.
No, the world
we didn't
was
have
the world
50
was bigger.
states.
The world was bigger. It's gotten smaller because we filled in the corners of the map.
So, but like, if you now
And
have
then
the technological
Built a map
capability,
around the map.
we don't need people necessarily to represent us anymore. Because
Yeah, I
we
thought
can
I thought
all
about a
talk to
voting
each
app.
other from anywhere.
I thought about a voting app.
Right.
I'm like, what happens if you just put it on the phone? I'm
That's
like,
what I'm saying.
what is it? Hillary won the popular vote by 3 million votes.
That's what. Yeah.
3 million votes. That's 1% of the population.
Mm-hmm.
And what was it? Like 1/3 or 2/3 didn't vote?
Yeah.
Who said? I'm like, I'm sorry. Even if it was 1/3, I don't know what the number is off the top of my head. If it was 1/3, 1% is nothing compared to 1/3 on a scale of 300 million. I think it's like 392 million or something. I know each of them got like 90 something million.
I
think it was like 1/3. I have it somewhere on my phone. I think they each got 90 million, and then the population of the U.S. is like 300 million. So it was 2/3 voted, 1/3 did not. She won by 3 million. The popular by 3 million. He won the electoral. And I'm like, the electoral is there for a reason. Whatever, it happened. People were going to be upset either way. 1% popular vote difference isn't big enough to matter on the grand scheme of things, because that 1%, people are like, she won the popular vote. I don't care. That's 1%. That doesn't count as the majority of the people in the country.
Yeah.
So unless you get everyone in the country, if you
that's
get
not
everyone
why
in
the election.
She lost the election because he won. Yeah, I know how the electoral college, but the electoral college is designed to stop the popular vote from always winning. Because then the thing is, once you win, get like California, New York, and like one other country, you basically win.
My thing is like when this stuff. By the way, a lot of this is part of what's called the unwritten constitution,
which is actually a great thing, because if we were to just go by the constitution, we'd be in mess. We'd be a mess right now. And a lot of principles that we have adopted that weren't written in.
Drifter's video, Drifter, who does mostly Call of Duty videos, which this has nothing to do with that.
No, but we're gonna start streaming gaming of us doing stupid stuff on there.
He has a video where he literally breaks down everything in 30 minutes. He's so like, it's such a good way of putting everything, where he explains why our voting methods aren't great. And what we do is we have an electoral college, which has a kind of an unfair amount of power compared to the number of people there actually are who vote.
I think it needs to be adjusted again. But
the way we vote,
it's not actually super unbalanced if you look at the populations, because it's supposed the electoral college is supposed to stop states from having such a crazy over other states, because that's the principle, and it makes sense.
Compromise. That's what it was called, right?
No, that's isn't the great?
Isn't that how like?
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, it is, because it is. Yeah, that's why the House of Representatives. And I'm like, it actually makes a lot of sense. If you go to other states, I'm like, you need that. States like Nevada, Arizona,
because then a state like
Utah.
Alaska.
No, Utah.
Or
nobody talks about Utah.
With like 30,000 people in the whole state.
Yeah.
Is going to be destroyed by like one island.
Long Island alone.
Millions of people.
Long Island alone. We've got Long Island alone. Millions of people. We have what Hillary won by
just take a slice
on
out
our
of here,
island.
And then that has like triple the voting power of a state like Utah.
So it's to stop, because they have such a different way of life there.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that's why there are state laws, and I'm like,
Yeah.
you can't.
that's
You
a
need
good
the
thing.
electoral college. I'm like,
That's a good thing.
and
It can't
even
be a
though
straight-
it can't be a straight popular vote, yeah, when you live in a city like New York or like California, it makes sense. Popular vote, yeah, we get our way. But if you live in a place where it's not as big, you're like, yo, you don't know anything about my life, but you're telling me how to live it. You don't know anything about how we live, how we work. You know, people who live on farms and do stuff that still. I'm like, we don't. Where did all this go? Where did this go? I don't know.
Well, we were talking about the rules of life.
Yes.
You brought up
Yes.
treating people. Don't talk about the world until your house is in order.
Yep.
Which led to people talking about the world,
Yep.
and then people compared countries and the nationalism.
Well,
wow,
lobsters.
I did a really good job of
well,
backtracking.
lobsters are awesome.
Mark has the toy lobster.
Lobsters are awesome. They have 4 stages of combat.
That is awesome. What are they?
Lobsters are pretty damn great. Okay, one, lobsters don't mate for life.
Okay.
That's maybe some species of them, but for the most part, they don't. Lobsters are very, there's some crazy facts about them. Like, this is insane. So there are 4 stages of combat for a lobster.
What is the pinching power? Not that strong.
No, it's strong. Stage 1 is they spray a chemical spray on each other when they go into combat. When lobsters are very territorial. And the men will fight to become the top lobster. Literally, whoever is the top lobster gets all the girls. All of them.
Playboy. So
literally,
Hugh Hefner lobsters.
He can get with as many girls as he wants, and then they go away. If they don't, die during it. If they don't die during it, because he is the biggest and the strongest. If they do not die, because they normally go after like a fight has happened and they are in a weaker state because they actually have to shed in order to do it. So they could die if they don't entice him enough.
Okay.
So he literally gets with all the girls unless he doesn't want to. So it's great to be number 1 lobster. You literally get all the girls. So first one is the chemical spray. The chemical spray tells each lobster about the other one, size, health, sex, different stuff.
Basic information.
Yeah, basic stuff. From there, they'll be like, it'd be like you and me. We just go not like pee on each other. It'd be different than that.
Sure, it would be different. It'd be pretty similar.
It's
a spray.
So,
right?
So you'd be like, huh?
That's like if I.
You'd be like, okay. He's bigger than me and his arms are bigger than me. Maybe I don't want to fight him. Maybe, but maybe you're not so sure. So the next is you go into a you go into a fencing. So it's not really using the bigger claws. It's more using the antennae that they have, and they're kind of like going back and forth, volleying to try to gauge one another. Gauge their strength, gauge their agility, gauge their confidence, because confidence plays a big role. So they kind of
imagine if 2 guys got into a street fight and they had 4 stages of combat.
So they kind of go back and they do fencing for a bit.
They fart on each other. The second stage is they try to poke each other.
So you and me, we grab our fencing foils.
Then it goes to boxing
that we have.
They both take out handguns.
So hey, you're not that far off. So we fence for a bit. You're like, I'm like, all right. He's pretty good at fencing, but I'm pretty good at fencing too. So you're like, I think I could take you. You're like, part of you is like, yeah, I think I could. So then you move on to the next stage of fighting, which is when you try to pin the other person. So you try to get a hold of one of their limbs.
Okay.
And at that point, they either give up or they continue fighting. Uh-huh. So it's like I get a hold of, we're basically grappling. At that point,
okay,
we're going at it. I got you in a headlock, or I got you in an armbar, and that I got you in the armbar. This is the pinning. This is stage 3. Right. All right, I got you in the armbar.
I don't. You
don't tap out. You could and just walk away a little injured. You don't. Then we move on to stage 4. My goal is to rip your limbs off. That's my goal. My goal is to rip your limbs off until you quit and run away. So in that armbar, I just snap your arm. And if you keep going, I snap your other arm, and then we become Hunter x Hunter. And I just break every bone in your body, even though you don't want to quit. Except in this place, I can kill you, and it doesn't matter.
That's such a good scene, though.
So those are the 4 stages of lobster combat.
I'm so happy that.
But they also have to weigh the pros and cons. But what's really crazy?
Wait, can I go to can we go to a seafood restaurant and ask them
for lobster to watch lobster to watch the fight before we?
No, we get to eat the dead one at the end of the.
But what's really crazy is that if a lobster,
no, it's even more messed up.
If a lobster,
the one that
the one,
wins.
If a lobster loses, it affects them. If a lobster won and then lost, even though it won a bunch of times, it will go on a losing streak. Because once it loses once, itself, right? No, because literally of a confidence level. So I forgot what the
wouldn't no literally confidence level lead you to a losing
no streak? Because they won't go less lobsters will go after you if you're less confident. So it's literally because of a certain hormone that's given off. I believe it's what's that hormone with an O?
What hormone?
It starts with an O.
Erectus?
I said it's a hormone that starts with an O.
Oh.
Where did I put it?
That's not a hormone thing. It's not gay. Not a gay hormone. Okay. Hormone starts with an O. Oxycontin? No. That's a drug.
That's a drug. Okay, it's whatever. So literally this hormone that is responsible for being confident, being proud, being, it's the way this was all tied into Stand Up Straight Shoulders Back, because it's about how they actually present themselves. And because the hormone levels drop, they are then more timid. They behave more timidly. They are more easily frightened. They
really studied this.
And this is to the level. This is to the level.
What was the
Their
science?
brain breaks down.
What was the science supposed
Their brain breaks down.
Who funded this
Their
research?
brain, if they lose a fight, like lose big time,
they get
their brain melts. And in their brain, I wrote this down. If a dominant lobster loses, its brain dissolves and grows a new, less dominant brain.
Wait. Like the whole brain?
Like brain. I don't know the extent of lobster anatomy. All I know.
How big is a lobster brain? Probably not.
It's probably not even I don't know how big lobster brains are. I only eat lobster tails and claws.
Lobe, right?
They don't have a frontal lobe.
Do they have a frontal?
No. Well, no, maybe they might.
They have.
No, they've only got they don't have a frontal lobe or a prefrontal cortex. Otherwise, they'd be conscious. Why are they conscious? How can you be timid and not be conscious? Maybe you're just not conscious about being timid. I don't know. I don't know. Lobster brains dissolve when you lose a fight.
Good to know.
It happens.
Now, if I ever encounter a giant lobster, I'll just know that I have to rip its arms off.
Yeah.
And then it'll just melt its brain. Good. So in One Punch Man, when he that wasn't a lobster though, that was a crab. Never mind.
I would have loved to just steam that guy in a pot.
I would have tasted good, man.
Crab man?
Delicious.
I love crab meat. It's so great.
But if a crab eats people, it's not gonna taste like crab meat.
Yeah. Guess not.
But I don't know what human tastes like. Maybe human tastes like crab meat. We don't know because we haven't eaten it.
No, somebody wrote a description on what human meat tastes like.
Yeah, but I mean, they could be lying.
They could be. I don't think they were though. They were very descriptive about this, and they were like it was for some weird purpose.
Okay. Anthony Bourdain ate his son's placenta.
Two guys on a game show.
He wrote a whole chapter.
Two guys on a game show did some were like ate a part of each other. And it was completely
that
legal.
Sounds like Saw.
It was completely legal
like
because they didn't eat. It was prepared and then they switched and they ate it from the other person. And it was okay because
we should do that. Minus the cutting something off.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
What
part? What part did they eat?
I think it was like a skin graft or something, like a small skin graft.
Like if you can do that painlessly, I would do that with you. I think it'd be fun. I want to know what you think.
You talk me into...
Not in a sexual way.
Yeah, I was like, part of my brain was like, yeah, I'd eat you too. And I'm like, let's not say those words. Let's not say that. Doesn't go over well when you say that. And you could be with your girlfriend with a sprained ankle right now.
You could guess what somebody if you ate enough person
salt
enough human.
You could guess what they eat.
Yeah, like what their diet is.
I think you'd be able to tell if they were healthy or not. I think you could tell how.
Yeah. A skinny person,
oh, absolutely.
Just based off of like the muscle meat, eating it.
Maybe, because I don't know. I know other meats have what's called marbling. So marbling is the fat within the meat.
Uh-huh.
Well, our fat doesn't mix with our muscle. It's muscle then fat. So I don't know how well they would work.
What do you think would be the best part? Probably the abs, right? I feel like
here's abs, what if you were to ask any
or the
guy
quad,
in
the quad would be good.
No, any guy at Suffolk or in that vicinity that we sit would say the butt.
I mean, it would have the most fat in it.
And they already eat it, for at least they say they do all the time. So.
Oh. They eat ass.
Yeah, that's what they always say. Like, hey, if you're gonna eat it, what? Get a fork. There's a picture of my friend. He's like, and it's just a guy poking his girl's. It's just like just gently poking it like that. And I'm like, what? Like, what are you doing? I don't understand.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's what he's doing.
There was cook up some ham.
Yeah, boy. Absolutely. I can't wait for the next season of One Punch Man.
Yeah, they don't have a release date still.
No, they do not.
They did announce it for this year, though. You know who does have a release date? My Hero Academia Season 3.
You know what also has a release date? Series of Unfortunate Events Season 2.
Ooh.
Yeah.
7th is mine.
You know what also has a release date? Avengers Infinity Wars. Which we already have tickets to. Can't wait for that.
Bro.
I
still need to look at Black Panther.
Yes, you do.
Which is probably not in theaters anymore.
What was I gonna? There was something else in here I had that I thought was really cool.
What was it?
It had to do with, I believe it's called Jamais Vu.
I don't speak that language.
So, you know what deja vu is?
That's when you think something has happened before, but there's no reason to think so, that you can tell.
Jamais vu, you have definitely experienced, and you're going to be like, oh my God, there's a word for that. You're not going to be like, oh my God, there's a word for that. You're going to be like, wow, that's great. Now I know the word for that. It's accurate. When you know something, but you can't recall it at that given time. So it's like when I say, when you say or I say, or
When
like
you were trying to remember the numbers.
the number. Well, maybe it's more like, yo, what's that actor from
It's on the tip
Tropic
of my tongue.
Thunder? You know, he's
on
been
the
in
tip
this.
of my tongue.
Yeah,
It's
you're
on
like,
the tip of my tongue. I know it.
yeah, that's called
I
jamais
know
vu.
it. I know what it is.
That's called jamais vu. It's when you
Jamais vu.
can't remember something you
You
know.
actually did tell me that one, but I forgot what it was until you told me again now.
I didn't. I've only learned it recently.
You told me in the car. Today's Tuesday. Yesterday you must have told me.
I did.
I think so.
How did I tell you? On Monday.
Why are you saying that weird? Like, I don't know. You actually tell me. I just know that you did.
Okay.
Monday.
I'm pleased with this mic.
Me too.
I like this kind of.
You didn't even hear what it sounds like.
I did. I stuck my earbuds in it.
Good.
You know, I thought if we were like.
Yeah, it's probably better on that. Oh, my laptop's closed. I'm a dumbass.
So, you know, there are so many different things, and I written down. I was just trying to do what you did. I was like, this is really about just bettering myself and lately, and about getting in. And I like being able to like go through stuff and talk to you, and then we can go back and just see how stupid we were later on.
I'm annoyed because I lost the book that I started.
What was it called?
The Big Fat Truth: Why Meat, Eggs, and Butter Belong in a Healthy Diet.
Because a happy soul.
But this woman is crazy. She read every single article about fat. Academic article. Every single academic journal. There's over 10,000 research studies done on fat. She read all of them.
That's a lot.
It's crazy. That's why her book is like 300 pages long, which is not long for a book, but
yeah, come on. The books I sent you, the thing in that library, each are 410.
Yeah. That's all right. But so essentially, right?
I do have a few.
Yeah, but she talks about basically what the truth is about heart disease.
I actually have a few because we were talking about this is completely off topic entirely. How you mentioned how I got the website off of Dong.
Yes.
I actually have a few others written down that I thought were really cool that I thought we should do together.
Okay. You want to do them now?
No. It's 4 a.m.
It's not like we have to wake up at a certain time.
Yeah, but it's 4 a.m. and we've been going this for an hour and 22 minutes.
Okay.
So up to you. We can keep going, talk, or we can.
Yeah, we can do whatever. I want to watch more videos. Actually,
you want to call it?
That's what I want to do. But
I think we should figure out how in the world to.
In the corner of the screen?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
You mean you want to have a video in the corner or us in the corner and the video?
I want to figure out a way, well, maybe in the future. That way we can get our stupid reactions.
I don't like that, because I feel like it's kind of rude for the people whose video we're showing to show their
Markiplier won't mind. It's us reacting to Markiplier reacting.
Yeah, he won't. All right, word. If we just stick with people who already have tons of views on their video.
Tons of views.
Then we're good.
Yeah. And we only react to people reacting. We don't react to the videos themselves.
The Fibros have their channel called React. Ours is React.
React.
No, ours is not a React channel.
Not a React channel. I think this is just going to go on the Nick experience.
What?
Us reacting to.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Because we can't, even though this is not a podcast, you can't mix not a podcast with not a podcast. Yeah. With not a React channel. You can't not a podcast and not a React channel.
Podcast.
Is it not a podcast? So Even
it wouldn't even be that. It would be not a React video presented on something that isn't not a podcast.
well, theirs is called React, so ours would be called Not React. So Not React is not a podcast. So it can't be on not a podcast. You can't have Not React on not a podcast because it's not a podcast, even though it is not a podcast.
I want some tea.
Well,
I have tea.
You have tea. Did you
No.
bring tea here?
I didn't. I have to eat this stupid Lipton tea. That sucks now that I had the
But we need to understand the podcasting. So we're going to put the Not a React on the Nick Experience along with, I'm going to just pair.
We got to do the watermelon thing.
We also have to do 24 hours.
We should
inside.
podcast the watermelon thing, yo. No, we're not podcasting it. It is a podcast because it's the Nick Experience.
The Nick Experience is a podcast?
It is, isn't it? Well, it's not a podcast because this is it. This
That-
is not a podcast.
That is
They
this.
can't both not be podcasts.
They can't both not be podcasts.
There's only one not podcast.
Well, this is not podcast. But assuming that we're not just doing this isn't math, this is life, that it can be not a podcast.
That's too many negatives.
Well, I can't have
You're
two
bringing me down
negatives.
with all this negativity, Nick.
That is relative to your axis.
Whoa. Asymptotic symmetry, bro.
XY Cartesian coordinate plane. Z.
You can't have an X. You can't. What you just described, that's not what you
XYZ.
did.
And
Now-
then
now
time.
it is.
XYZ and then
'cause
time.
I did this.
You complete me. I like how both of our faces are perfectly covered up.
Word.
All right. Well, you want to call it?
We can end this if you want.
We can end this.
It's pretty long.
Even though we're probably going to
It's
have
supposed
the
to be long.
best conversation now. Or we're just
I don't
going to
know,
sleep.
You pretty much went out of your way that whole time to just talk about certain things.
No, I have so many things written
including
down in this.
lobsters, which is the biggest takeaway from this conversation, by the way.
Dude, I have so much stuff in this book that I wanted to share with you. But part of me always wants to get your reaction. So I don't just want to, a lot of this stuff, like to explain that lobster thing over text is too much work.
I
To
agree.
explain any of this over text message is too
It's
much
so
work.
not worth it.
It's not worth it. I'd rather talk about it in person. And there's so many things in here that are just such cool concepts and constructs and different things.
I should get a list going.
Like there are 16 or more dog balls in the Declaration of Independence,
I know about that.
right?
I knew about that.
That's so cool.
fantastic.
That's so fantastic. Yeah, there's a punctuation mark in the Declaration of Independence where it's like ... and then a dash. And even though it already doesn't actually look like a penis, you can think penis in today's generation, but its actual name is called dog bullocks, which means dog balls, which is great. And then there's something called a dumb hole.
Which is a black hole for sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? I'm like, why is it called a dumb
we
hole?
can make those.
We can make those.
That's so
we
cool.
can make
We
a
can
dumb
make
hole.
those. Like somebody was able to do that, and now people can do that.
Also, the record is 125 words said on a single breath. Well,
That's way less than I
no,
would've
he
thought.
counted to 125 in a single breath.
Okay, that sounds hard.
Now you're gonna try to do it.
All right, I'm gonna use the Wim Hof method
Wim Hof.
to enhance my lung capacity. ASMR.
So you got to count to as high as you can on a
1, 2,
single
3,
breath.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 90, 80. Fuck. Everything.
I did that. I got to, I think, 89. But I did what you did also, where I started saying the same number twice.
Mhm.
Like 61, 61, 61, 61. And I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not saying this. Yep.
Now I'm addicted to it. I want to do it again now.
We'll do it on the next one.
Okay.
You can practice in between.
Yeah. I'll do deep sea dives and practice.
There's just so much in this book, and I keep trying to add more and more. Like the website I told you about, where it just continuously shows you videos with no views.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm like, that's so fantastic. And then there's...
Most of them are crap.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are re-uploads, probably. You know, it's ridiculous. Because I used to do this, and once in a while I will. If you want to see a new video that badly, you could just type in like something you might want to watch.
There's a website that measures your how prone you are to becoming bored.
You put way too much space between measures and then the next word.
I forgot.
There's a website that measures your
dick.
Right. So that's why you can't do it.
There's a website that measures your likeliness to become bored. So how prone you are to getting bored.
There's a website that you can customize the human voice.
I can just do that by altering my voice.
No, but like it's like a digital tongue, and you can move the tongue.
It's like a digital.
And make it
I can move
sound
my tongue.
Like
the video of the guy.
I'm gonna do that. The sync got good. When did that happen?
When did that happen? What happened? How did it sync up? What is this?
That's kind of weird.
Holy God, thank God I had the cap on this time. I'm not even religious, but thank you.
Our pasta, who are in the colander.
Drain be thy noodles.
Thy sauce be yum.
No, thy noodle come, thy sauce be yum. On
Right.
top some grated Parmesan.
Give us this day
our garlic bread.
bread.
And forgive us of our trespasses, as we forgive those who trample on our lawns. And lead us not into vegetarianism. And deliver us some pizza.
I was raised a Christian, so I every time I do this, I really struggle with not saying.
And deliver us some pizza. For thine is the meatball, the noodle, and the sauce, forever and ever. Ramen. May the flying spaghetti monster's noodly appendages touch your meaty soul.
We had some really crunchy garlic bread this morning.
Oh my God,
earlier.
The crunch on that was so real.
I said this morning, it's morning now.
It's morning now, somewhere. In a world, one young man.
There's a documentary called In a World about the guy who does that.
That's fantastic. In a world, one young man, after going to the hospital with his girlfriend, found himself under a feeling of immense hunger. After arriving to his friend's house, who had given him a can of some sort of soup and other assorted meats and veggies that he had that he had previous left there the night before, actually the week before. There was a change in the teleprompter. I'm sorry about that, folks. He found himself still hungry as
we go, keep going.
Still hungry as his food was heating up in the microwaving. Having the hunger overwhelm every sense in his body, he found himself craving any food he could get his hand on. Thus, he saw a piece of bread. Without hesitation, he grabbed the piece of bread and quickly
Still a better love story than Twilight.
Went forth and placed the bread into his mouth. In one foul swoop, he chomped down on that bread like it was the first thing he's eaten in months. I was not looking at him the entire time, but all of a sudden I'd just hear crunch. Turned my head to find that he had bitten into bread. And the look on his face and mine basically summed it up. And the story of how he bit into some really crunchy bread.
That was good.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Well improvised.
The full
You don't
zero
have to say
people.
goodbye to everybody.
I'm saying bye. I want to say bye to Zero. He matters.
There's nobody watching because I closed my... I mean, I know Joe Rogan didn't start out with a ton of viewers, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't 0.
Hey, we had one. It was you, but it was